Have you ever wondered why your boss smiles so sweetly when you say you'll work another year? Or why your financial advisor nods so insistently when you're unsure whether you'll have enough money for retirement? The answer is simple. Your indecision is their net profit. While you're bargaining with your fear, the system is draining you of your most valuable asset, which can never be replaced. My name is Lily, and I'm not here to console you with tales of retiring well. I'm here to show you the math behind your survival. Let's start with a story that's often forgotten. 1963, South Bend, the Studebaker plant. Thousands of men and women dedicated their lives to this assembly line for decades. Why? Because they were promised an iron-cold guarantee. A pension, peace. They believed their loyalty was currency. But one cold morning, the plant simply closed. And it turned out that their guaranteed future was just an accounting fiction. Those who had planned to retire within a year found themselves on the street with pennies in their pockets. The system hadn't protected them. The system had used them and thrown them away. If you're over 55 and still going to a job you hate simply because you need to save up a little more, you're no different than those Studebaker workers. You're believing in a promise of security that doesn't exist. By the end of this video, you'll discover the exact algorithm that's driving you to trade your last healthy years for numbers you'll likely never spend. And we'll start with a number that will make your heart beat faster. In our society, there are two common reactions to working retirees. The first is hypocritical admiration. Oh, what a great guy. He's always on the go. He stays active. As if the only alternative to an office chair is immediately lounging on the couch. The second is the condescending question, where are his savings? He must have wasted it all. But both of these camps miss the point. Most people over 60 don't work out of love for spreadsheets. They work because they're scared. And that fear is the heaviest tax you pay. Here's a number that should keep you awake at night. If you're around 60 years old, you have about 1,000 healthy weeks left. I emphasize not just weeks of vegetative life, but weeks when your body still obeys you. When you can climb stairs without getting out of breath, when your brain works sharply, when you can fly to the other side of the world without having to lie in a hotel room for 2 days recovering. 1,000 weeks. That's just 25 summers. 25 chances to see the ocean at sunset. A limited number of times you'll be able to hold your grandchildren in your arms. And here's the devilish irony. Every extra year you spend working out of fear of the market or inflation subtracts exactly 52 weeks from that 1,000. But you're not subtracting them from the back of the line. You're subtracting them from the front, from the very weeks when you're at your most energized. You're trading away your gold for the right to receive copper in the future. I often hear, Lily, you don't understand. The math doesn't add up. I need another 2 million or 5 or 10 to feel safe. You know what I'm telling you? It's a lie. There's no math involved. It's uncertainty porn. The pornography of uncertainty that the financial industry has hooked you on. There's a study. Wealthy families with over $5 million in their accounts say in surveys that they need exactly twice that amount to feel at peace. 5 becomes 10, 10 becomes 20. The finish line is a mirage. It moves away just as you're approaching it. Why? Because security isn't a sum in your account. It's a state of mind you're forbidden from having. Because a calm person is a poor consumer and a poor worker. The investment industry, the tax system, and your employer have entered into an unspoken alliance. They benefit from you working until your last breath. The employer gets an experienced, loyal, and predictable employee who won't demand their rights. The government collects taxes from your salary. Investment funds receive their commissions from your ever-growing capital. Everyone wins, except you. You are the only investor in this scheme, investing not money, but your life. And that's an asset with zero liquidity. It can't be recovered. You've been led to believe that working longer is a responsible, mature plan. But I'm here to tell you, often it's simply cowardice disguised as prudence. It's a way to avoid the responsibility of making the most important decision in life. Who am I if I don't have a business card with my job title? Have you ever wondered why, even with hundreds of thousands or even millions in savings, you still feel like you're living on a powder keg? It's not paranoia. It's the result of your capital being built for accumulation, but completely unsuitable for livability. Most of you make the same fatal mistake. You treat your portfolio like a sports car, meant to go faster and faster. But at 59, you don't need a race car, you need a parachute. And if you try to land a race car, you'll crash. Let's talk about the numbers your consultant prefers to avoid. I call it the three-number framework. If you work after 60, you're obligated to know them by heart. Number 1, your baseline spend. And no, this isn't the amount I want to spend in the Maldives. This is a hard number, how much it costs to survive on a monthly basis without panicking. Housing, insurance, food, taxes, no glitz or glamour. If you don't know this number, you're not planning for retirement. You're just reading tea leaves. Number 2, your guaranteed income floor. This is what will come to you even if the stock market crashes tomorrow. Social benefits, rent from real estate, pensions. This is your foundation. Number 3, the gap. It's the difference between the first and second. It's the amount your investment portfolio needs to generate each month so you can just breathe. And that's where it gets interesting. Most people think, I need to save so much that this gap seems tiny. But I'll tell you something else. You don't need more money. You need structure. Look at it this way. There's a concept called sequence of returns risk. It's a complicated term for a very simple and scary thing. If the market drops 20% in the first 2 years of your retirement, and you start withdrawing money to live on, you're dead. Financially, you'll sell your assets cheap and your capital will never recover. That's why you're afraid to quit. You feel that vulnerability in your bones. But instead of building a defense, you choose to work another year. It's like trying to stop the bleeding by squeezing your eyes shut. The solution isn't an extra year of work. The solution is a bridge bucket. This is a reserve of cash and short-term bonds that will cover your gap for 2 to 3 years. When you have this bridge, you don't care about the crisis. You simply wait for the market to recover, not selling your stocks at the bottom. This is the price of your freedom, and it's often much less than the millions you're chasing. Now let's uncover the biggest leak, the management fee. Does your financial advisor charge you 1%? It seems like a pittance. 1% is less than a tip at a restaurant. But in the world of compound interest, a 1% commission over 20 years eats up to a third of your real capital. Think about it. You've dedicated 30 years of your life to this job, and then you're giving 10 years of that work to a guy in an expensive suit simply for moving your money from one pocket to another. This silent tax is one of the main reasons you feel like you're not enough. You're feeding a system that sells you fear. They benefit from you viewing investing as rocket science, accessible only to a select few. But the truth is, after 60, your job isn't to maximize profits. Your job is to minimize catastrophic outcomes. Look at your accounts right now. If you're paying for active management that doesn't outperform the S&P 500, you're paying for the right to work for an extra 5 years. It's a direct exchange of your time for their bonuses. Do you like that? Another trigger that's often overlooked: the identity trap. Many of you don't quit because work is the only place where you feel important. Without a business card, without an inbox bursting with emails, without subordinates, you feel invisible. And you use financial excuses, I don't have enough money, to hide your fear of emptiness. But I'll tell you the hard way. If you don't know who you are without your title, you're not a successful professional. You're a slave to your resume, and no amount of money will fill that hole. Let's be honest. If retirement were just a matter of math, each of you would already be sitting on your porch or traveling the world. But here you are. You're watching this video because there's a small, cold knot of anxiety inside you. And that knot isn't an accident. It's a product you were sold. There's an entire retention economy. It's made up of banks, insurance companies, tax consultants, and your own HR department. And they all have one common goal: to keep you from slamming on the brakes. Why? Because you're the most valuable resource. You're an experienced, disciplined, and most importantly, predictable contributor. You produce more than you consume, and you pay taxes every step of the way. Consider the concept of targeted capital. You're told you need to save $2 million. You reach that figure. And then what happens? The same voice from the TV or from the consultant's chair says, "Oh, have you seen the inflation report? Have you seen what's happening with geopolitics? $2 million is the new $500,000. You need a little more. Just work for 2 more years and you'll be perfectly safe." It's called finish line shift. It's like running on a wheel that spins faster the more you try. The industry uses your own intelligence against you. They show you complex Monte Carlo charts, simulations that predict the likelihood of your plan succeeding. They say, your plan has an 85% chance of working. And you freeze. You think, what if I hit that 15% chance? No, I'd rather work harder, another year, until the probability gets to 95%. But here's what they don't tell you. 100% probability doesn't exist in nature. You can work until you're 80, save 50 million, and still have a 1% chance of a meteorite hitting you or the planet's economy turning to dust. But you're trading 100% of your actual lifespan for a slim chance of increasing your survival probability by 5 to 10%. This is the worst deal in human history. Let's return to the history of the Studebaker plant, but take a look behind the scenes. When the workers' pension fund began to empty, management knew about it several years before the disaster. But they continued to smile at the workers and say, "Everything is under control, guys. Just keep doing your jobs." Why? Because if the workers knew the truth, they would leave. They would stop producing value. The company needed to squeeze them until the last moment. Your modern trap is more elegant. It's called the loyalty tax. Many of you hold high positions. You bring millions in profit to the company. But have you ever considered how much your hourly work is really worth? Not the figure in your contract, but the figure after all the hidden costs are deducted. Let's do the math. Let's say you earn $150,000 a year. That sounds like a lot, but subtract your taxes. Subtract the cost of status, the clothes, car, and housing you need just to keep up with your job title. Subtract the cost of your health, the blood pressure pills and therapy sessions you pay for to cope with stress. Subtract commuting time, and most importantly, subtract the cost of lost life. If you sat at the office for 10 hours to earn an extra $200 in net savings for your retirement fund, was it worth it? At 25, maybe? At 62, it's insane. You're selling your most scarce commodity at the lowest price in history. Your employer is buying your best, remaining years for next to nothing. They're taking time you could have spent with your grandchildren and handing you candy wrappers that depreciate faster than you can count them. And here we come to the most painful point: the fear of becoming invisible. I've seen hundreds of men and women who have turned their work into their identity. They come to the office and feel like gods. Their opinions matter, their calls are expected, their orders are carried out. But they know, somewhere deep down, that the second they hand in their pass, they will become just old people in a bread line. And they disguise this fear of losing their significance as financial prudence. They say, "I work because inflation is rising." But the truth is, they work because they're afraid of silence. They're afraid of being alone and realizing that beyond their title of senior vice president of something is a void. The system knows this, and it feeds this fear. It creates a corporate culture where rest is a sin and productivity is the highest virtue. You've been conditioned to feel guilty for wanting to just be. Just look at the clouds. Just read books. But listen carefully. In 1963 in South Bend, those who left the Studebaker plant a year before it closed, preserving their small personal savings and health, came out on top. Those who stuck it out until the end, relying on the system's promises, lost everything, both money and time. In the next part, we'll explore the mathematics of a free man. I'll show you how to calculate your personal point of no return. We'll discuss how to mentally prepare yourself to become nobody to the system, but everything to yourself. And I'll give you a strategy for emerging victorious from this game, even if your account balance is 3 times smaller than the experts on TV recommend. We're just getting started. We've reached the end, and it's time to drop all masks. If you've listened this far, it means something inside you has responded to this cold truth. You feel like one more year isn't a safety strategy, but a capitulation to fear. But what to do next? How do you move from the recognition of the trap to a real way out when every voice around you is telling you to wait? The first thing you need to do is recognize that security is a delusion. The world will never be stable. Markets will always be volatile. The political situation will always be turbulent. If you're waiting for the perfect moment when all the clouds will clear, you're waiting for your death. Your goal isn't to find calm, but to learn how to steer a boat in a storm. Here's your step-by-step exit plan. This isn't advice from glossy magazines. This is the tactics of financial special forces. Point 1. Conduct a vanity audit. Look at your monthly expenses and be honest. How much of this money is spent on maintaining status with people you don't even like? Huge houses that require endless maintenance, expensive insurance for things you don't need, subscriptions and memberships that emphasize your rank. When you trim this fat, your gap, which we discussed in part 2, shrinks before your eyes. The less you need to be happy, the faster you become immune to the system. Remember, freedom is more valuable than a panoramic window or a new car. Point 2. Create your guaranteed bridge. Instead of chasing a 15% annual return, Focus on withdrawing an amount equal to your expenses for the next 24 to 36 months from volatile assets. Put it in deposits or short-term bonds. Yes, they'll earn pennies. Yes, inflation will eat into them a little, but that's the price of your restful sleep. This bridge is your insurance against having to return to work in disgrace after the first market crash. Once you have a 3-year cushion, market storms become a mere noise outside the window, not a life-threatening threat. Point 3. Kill the inner vice president in you. This is the hardest part. You need to start rehearsing your invisibility. Find a hobby, community, or project where your past status doesn't matter, where you're just a person. Start building your new identity a year before you hand in your pass. If you don't find a reason to wake up in the morning other than work, you'll return to the office 6 months later simply out of boredom and existential dread. Don't let work be your only source of meaning. Meaning is an asset, too, and it requires diversification. Point 4. Stop listening to those who are trapped. Does your consultant get a percentage of your capital, so they want your capital to be as large as possible? Does your boss get a bonus based on your performance, so they want you to work forever? Are your friends afraid to quit? So they'll talk you out of it too. Look for those who have already quit. Look for those who live more modestly, but with more freedom. Their experience is your roadmap. Now let's return to South Bend and the Studebaker workers. Do you know who among them was ultimately the happiest 10 years after the plant closed? Those who didn't waste years on lawsuits and complaints trying to get back what they promised. Those who accepted reality, quickly retrained, found joy in the small things, and stopped expecting the system to take care of them. They realized that their lives belonged to them, not to a company whose shares were traded on the stock exchange. You stand on the threshold of the most important choice. Your last 1,000 healthy weeks lie ahead. This is your golden reserve. You can spend it trying to buy a little more security, which will remain an illusion. Or you can hit the exit button, embrace the uncertainty, and start living life on your own terms. Yes, it's scary. Yes, in the first few months, you'll be checking your card balance every day. Yes, your former colleagues will look at you with pity, thinking you've given up. But in 2 years, when you wake up without an alarm, when your blood pressure returns to normal, when you truly see spring blooming for the first time in 30 years, you'll realize you made the best deal of your life. You've bought yourself back from the system. You're no longer a resource. You're no longer a number on a report. You're a person who's reclaimed your time. Mathematics is on your side. Structure is in your hands. Psychology is your last barrier. Step over it. Don't wait for your factory to close. Leave while you still have the strength to go. My name is Lily. I've given you the tools. Now it's your turn to decide. Will you hoard other people's money or start spending your own life? The choice was always yours. Just acknowledge it.